What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel Building Amazing Things. My name is Hyginus Ukeh, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create this wonderful web UI. And one interesting part of this video is that I'm going to be showing you tips and UI tips that you're going to use throughout the video. I'm going to show you things that will improve your skills and make you more a perfect UI designer, and you'll be able to create awesome designs like this. So this video is a series video, and this is the first video of the series. The second video of the series, I'm going to be showing you how to create the web UI. Interesting, right? I'm going to be introducing a design tool that will help us to create our websites for clients after designing the UI. So guys, don't miss out of this video. This video's promised to be an interesting one. You're going to learn a lot in this video. So without wasting much of your time, guys, let's jump into it right away. So now I'm on my system. What I can do now is to open my Figma application. So my Figma is now open on the system. So this is a new Figma application environment. I haven't done anything, so I'm going to show you guys how to go about it. Assuming a client meets you and asks you that, oh, I need a website for a web UI, how are you going to go about it? You're going to ask some questions. Who are the users? Make your research about the user. That is very important. What is the website trying to solve? Do you have a kind of branding? Do you have a color? So now this design, we're taking for example that the user doesn't have, or the client doesn't have a color, so we're going to pick a color. So we are going to create our mood board, create the colors we want, create the typography we want, and we'll go ahead and do the design right away. So what I usually do is I go to Dribbles or Behance and look at some designs and say okay, and ask the client, are you okay with this design? Is this kind of design you want? That is a kind of mood board that tells the client, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and it gives me an idea of what I'm going to design. So now, assuming I have that already, I've gone to Behance and I've looked at that, and the client said, okay, that is it. Now what I will do next is, what are the colors I want to use? And sometimes I pick my colors from images. That's a good way to pick colors, because images are taken from natural environments, and when you come to UI, you look at the natural environment to get the best you want out of nature. So I'm going to use an image. So what I do is I go to unsplash.com, and I know that this application is going to be a web UI. So I go to unsplash.com, and I'm looking for furnitures, because that's what I want to design for the client. So I'll simply type furnitures on unsplash.com. I'm going to see tons of images. So I want to pick my color from these images. So for example, I'm looking at this image and I really like how it looks, very simple, and there is no much content, no more distraction. So I really think I want to go with this image. So I will use this image as a source base for my color. So I'm going to pick a color from this image that looks similar to this image and use the color throughout my design. And you are going to see how interesting it will turn out to be. So I've already downloaded this image. You can go ahead and download it. It's on Unsplash, and the name is, you can search with chair, you can get it, or you search with HD gray wallpaper, you can also get it. So let's jump back to Figma. I'm on Figma right now. So what I would do is to bring in that image which I have downloaded. So I can go to my shape here and pick place image. Then now I have my pictures which I've downloaded. So I'll just quickly go through the pictures which I think I want to use for this project. And I'm going to pick this very one, which is the one I showed you guys. So I'm going to drop it here, and this is it. So I want to pick a color from this image. I've done that already. I picked a color. What you can do is just select a box and then go ahead and click on the field here, and then use a picker tool to pick on any color you want to use. I'm trying to select a base color for the design. So now I have the color ready which I want to use, and it's similar to what is on this picture. I've done a couple of try and test to know which color suits you. Make your decision on the best color you want to use for your design. So the color code for this is ECF to F1. So this color code is similar to what I'm actually trying to do, and it's similar to this picture. So that's what I want to use for my design. So I now have one of the color codes which I want to do. So this kind of looks like a mood board for the design. So what I'm going to do right away is that I usually use Eclipse to draw my color codes. So I just make the size of the Eclipse to be 60 by 60. I've clicked on constraint to make it 60 by 60 by height by width. Then I'm going to pick this color code to fill in for that, and I do that immediately. So now I'm going to delete this and kind of remove the image for now. I'll bring back the image when I want to use it. So let me zoom in and see what we have. Yeah, this is what we have as one of the color for our design. So what I will do now, I need a frame for this design. So I'll select the frame tool and then go and pick MacBook Pro. And this should be the frame I'm designing for. So this is the color code. This is the frame we're using. And I'm going to rename this frame. It's always good to rename your content, your layout, so that it will be nice to identify with your designers or anybody who is working on the team with you. So I'm going to name this to be called landing page. So this is the landing page of the furniture website which we're about to design, and we have a color code already which is here. So now I want to pick a darker shade of this color code. So it is interesting that you use your color code, use one color in designing. You can use, there are various rules you can use in color, but I'm using one color system in this design. So I can duplicate this by using my Command D, and once I duplicate this, I have another shape which I want to give a code, color code for. So what I can do is I click on the fill here and then select on this. These are the different types of color here you can access on Figma, and each of these color has their purpose and meaning. So I'm using HSL. What it means is hue. H stands for hue, S stands for shade, L stands for lightning. So once I select it, I'm going to decrease the value of the lightning down to 10. So when I do that, I have like this black color which I want to use for my designs. So it's advisable not to use straight blacks in your design. So next thing is I have another shade of color which I want to match with this. So, and that shade of color, I know the color code, so I'm just going to pick the color code which is 6868. So that should be the colors I want to use for this design. So this can go for my black. I pick the black, remember, from this shade. I can duplicate this and also pick a black from this, and let's see which black works fine. So when I go to when I go to HSL, I can change this to 98 to get the white version of this, or I can reduce it to 10 to get the black version of this. So I think I will go with this black. I like the shades of this black compared to this very one. So I'm going to delete this. So these are the color codes which I'm going to be using in this design. So remember, I got these colors from an image which I think the clients will be interested in. So without wasting much of your time, guys, let's start designing as fast as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to create the wireframes. So wireframes gives me a kind of hierarchy, how I arrange the content on the website before I go ahead and start creating my design. So, but the reason why I had to pick the color, I need to have the mood of what I'm actually designing. So that's why I had to pick a color and an image for the design. So let me jump straight up into the design. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pick a text, and I want a logo for this, which is basically what you're supposed to do. You need to create a logo or a kind of brand logo for the application or the website you're trying to design. So I'm going to set the font size of this logo to be 24, and I'm going to give it a random name. I don't know where I picked this name from, so I just pray there's no brand using this name. So Rofota, that's the name. So I'm going to change the font type to Montserrat. So one great tip in picking font type is use font types that are very easy to read and not difficult to actually read, like cursive kind of font type. Don't use something that is very cursive. Use something that is pretty nice and simple to read. So this is the font size font type I'm using, and the size is 24. So now how do you pick font types? Usually I go to Google Fonts. I use Google Fonts. So I just open Google Fonts, fonts.google.com. So once I go to Google Font, I skim the different types of fonts here, and anyone I'm interested in, I go ahead and search. Interestingly, Figma is using Google Font. So anyone I'm actually interested in, I skin it immediately and start using it as fast as I can. So guys, let me go back to the design. So I'm using Montserrat here, and I'm going to make this semi-bold, and that's what I have. So I'm going to use this as a kind of a logo, and remember this is a pure black, so I don't want this to be typically pure black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the color of this black here, and this doesn't really matter now, but it matters in the future when we start doing the UI. So you can leave it this way and later on change it when we start doing the UI. So I can then duplicate this. I want to use another font type which is called Pompous. I'm going to use Pompous for each of the texts. So I'm going to select the font face to be Pompous. Then the size, I can make it a pin, and this time around I can still make it 24, but this time around reduce this from semi-bold to medium. So when I have this now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to key in the menus I have. So I have home, and I will duplicate, and I have about. So one interesting tip I want to give you guys here is when you have multiple of content, different layers you want to align together and make some kind of spacing between them, equal spacing between them, advise you use Figma auto layout. It helps you to align your content as fast as you can. So I'm going to select these two content and use my Shift A on the keyboard to add my auto layer. If you look at the properties bar here, you can see an auto layer added, and you can decide what spacing you want to have in this auto layer. So I will just quickly decide, okay, let's have 40 spacing within them. So now I'll talk more about the spacing. There's what we call the grid system rule, which helps us to align content in our design. So I will talk about that more. So make sure you watch this video to the end, because I'm going to be talking about so many tips that will help you to create UI designs and perfect and excellent UI designs. So now I have my home and about. I can duplicate this and I call this, let's say, services, because actually the clients will want to tell people what they do, and maybe we'll have a blog to keep the customers engaged, and then we have a contact link where they can actually contact us. So pretty nice. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add a grid line to this. So I'm going to click on the layer grid, click the plus sign to add it. Then I'm going to select this to be columns. Usually we use 12 columns for websites. And I'm going to set this to be centered and line, and I'm going to set the width to be 70 and set the gutter to be 30. So this is my grid system I'm going to be using. So I want this to be aligned straight down this way to this point. That's the essence of the grid. Then take this to this point. Awesome. So I'm going to select the bolt, and I used Option Command G or alternate Command G depending on the window, depending on the operating system you're using. This will help me to group them. You can see there's a frame group inside there. So once I group them, I can now select each of the contents in the group. So we have the first frame and this next one, which is the logo. So I can kind of use my alignment tools at the top and say, okay, align vertical centers, and make sure it's aligned vertical center. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this, because I told you guys naming is very important to keep your work clean and neat. So I'm going to rename this. I'm going to give it I'm going to give this should be the navigation, and this should be the header, and this row photo should be the logo. Awesome. So we have the header in our landing page. So nice. So I'll talk about the grid system. The grid system allows you to align your content beautifully nice on your website. So we're using the 8DP grid system, which I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So to use the 8DP grid system, what you need to do is to click on the Figma icon here, go to preferences, go to notch amount, set the smaller notch to be 1 and set the bigger notch to be 8. I'm going to show you how this is applicable in your design. So now, once I've done that, once I select a layout and I want to align it using the 8DP rule, what I will do is to hold the option key and I will see the kind, Figma gives me a kind of numbers to know how these are being aligned. So if I move this with my arrow key once, it moves 1DP. When I hold the shift on the keyboard and move with the arrow key up, it moves by 8 notch, which is the 8DP rule. So I'm going to take this to the top, and once I take this to the top, I'll see that I have is basically at the top, so there's no numbers at the top. So when I use the 8DP rule by holding my option, if you're on Windows, use your alternate key. So I'm holding my option and my shift and my arrow down. So it's moving by 8. So I'm going to do that again. It's moving by another 8. So I want this to move by 40. So depending on what you want to achieve, some people might choose to make it 32. So I'm moving by the 8DP rule. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a kind of the hero section of this web application. So I'm going to turn off the grid line so we see what we have. Okay, awesome, we're making progress. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select maybe select box and just give it something like this. So I'm going to check again to make sure that this box has a same kind of spacing which I want to achieve, which is using the 32. So good. Then I'm going to drag this because I want it to have the first screen should be filled up, which is the landing page. Once you come up, this should be filled up. So now what I want to do now is some kind of text which I will add, which the user gets to know about the business immediately. So what I will do is I'll right click on this and make it a frame selection. So the essence of doing this is everything that's inside this now will be grouped together. So I'm going to call this the hero section. Then what I'll do now is to add the text which I want to use for the hero section. So the first text is going to be Pompeii. I'm using Pompeii. So I'm going to just copy this and practically paste it in here. So I'll align it this way. And the content of this text should be beauty, smooth, and elegant. So we're trying to pass a message to the users of this application. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set the typography. So I'm going to make this 32, and remember we're using the 8DP, so everything moves by 8, and I'm going to make it regular. And what next? I think I'm okay with this. So I'm going to duplicate this by holding my alternate on Windows or options on Mac, and I'll drag down to duplicate it. So next caption I want is modern furnitures. So the next thing I'm going to do is to set the typography of this. So I'll go back to Google Fonts, and there's this nice font which I found out on Google Font. It's called the Neto serif. So this is it. I think this is a nice font, so I decided to use it here. So what I will do is to just search here, which is the Neto serif. Hope I'll find that font. So let's just look down Neto serif. The font, that font is kind of hidden here. So I'll just look for it as fast as I can. Okay, here it goes. That's the font. So I'm going to set the properties. I'll make this semi-bold, and I'll make the font size to be 56. And I think I'm okay with this. So that's what we're going to be using. So, and the next thing I'm going to do the other descriptions. So one tip I'm giving out here, you can see that there's a kind of what we call hierarchy, typography hierarchy in what we're trying to do. The first one is smaller and the next one is bigger. It's really nice to have hierarchy in typography. This helps the user to place level of priority. So the user gets to know about the modern furnitures first of all, before the user gets to know about other things that follow up in this hero section. So this content now, I'm going to make it pump-based, and it's also nice that you use two typography in your design. So these are tips I'm giving out in this design, and make sure that you watch this video to the end, because there are lots of tips which I will release in this video. So now that I have this set up, the next thing I'm going to do is I want this to be kind of text which gives more description about our product. So I'm going to set it to be 24. Then I can go ahead and let's make it this way, and I'll increase it this way. And what I will do is I want this to be filled up immediately, so I don't have to type the text. I have a plugin called Lorem, so I'm going to use Lorem ipso. So let's see, and I'm going to use auto generate, so I get my text. So I'll click on auto height, and that's it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to align them properly. And one of the tips is to still use your option key to get the margin spaces. So I'm going to move this up, make sure that it's just 8, and I'll make this 16. Okay, nice. So I can then select both of them, and I'll use my alternate command or Control G or option Command G, depending on which windows you're using. So after I've done that, so I'll call this the hero text. Notice how I'm renaming my contents, so it will look very nice for anybody who jumps up on this. Then the rectangle, I'm going to rename it to hero background. Pretty nice. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to then I need a button, like a call to action that takes the user somewhere from the hero section. So what I can do is I can select a text, and let me say select a text, and the content of the button should be, let's say, learn more, in case the user wants to know more about the business. And what font are we going to be using? I'm still going to be using Pumpkins and 24. This time around making it semi-bold so that it will be bold. Then what I will do is I'll use my auto layout to create my buttons. The essence is when I add more text, it shifts according to the text I have. So I'll use my Shift A and it adds an auto layout. If you notice, there's an auto layout. So I'll quickly name this to be button. Then on the auto layer property, I can click on the alignment and padding and make it center align. Then the padding at the top, I want it to be 16. And the padding at the bottom should be 16. The padding by the left should be 32. And the padding by the right should be 32. Then I'm going to add a fill to this, white. And I think the padding is small for me, so I'm going to make this 64. And also make this 64. And I'm going to set the corner radius to be 100. And I have my pretty button. So I'm going to check the spacing at the top. And I'm going to make this, let's say 48. I think 48 is better. So that's it. So now the next thing is the images that will be in this hero section. So I can quickly get a box and just identify that this is the image which we're going to be placing on this. And I'm going to make the width to be, let's say, 240. Then I can increase the opacity of this, or increase the shade rather, sorry. I can increase the shade. I can hold my shift and my arrow down to add more shades, or arrow up to lighten the shades. So I'm deciding to lighten the shades here. So I can drag this way and bring it down a little bit this way. Then I can duplicate it and I will check the margin. I want it to be 24. The margin, then I can increase it a little bit. That's how I want the images to be placed. Then I can duplicate this, Awesome. And then bring it down a little bit. So that's how I want the images to be placed. So now we're done with the arrow sections. So I can rename this shape to, I'll say image hero. Notice I'm using hero because we're in the hero section. Hero image 1. This is hero image 2. And this is hero image 3. Remember to like, subscribe, share. If you're really enjoying the video, please share, please like, and that's the only way YouTube knows that this is actually an amazing content. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit, which is the frame. Then let's go ahead and create more sections. So this section is going to be the About Us section. So what I'm going to do in this section quickly, what I would do is to just select a kind of should I say a rectangle, and I'll just put that there. Yeah, so I'm going to make this rectangle the height to be 500. So that means I'm going to increase the landing page frame more. So if this is 500, so the margin at the top I usually use 80. 80 is kind of like a standard which you use, so I'm going to make it 80. Awesome. So I'm going to be aligning some content in this. So I'm going to talk about what they do and the kind of services they have. So a pretty simple section for about and a pretty section for services. So I'm going to split it into two. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to select this text which I use here, but remember we're going to right click on this and make it a frame selection. So I'm going to rename it and call it the About/Services. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to copy this, copy, then I'll paste it in this frame. So now the size, I'm going to reduce this to be 32. Absolutely, I'm reducing it to be 32. Then the content of this, I'm going to change this to we create the world best furnitures. So this create, so it's small letter. So let me zoom in. So I'm going to like bring this down to, let's say, this way. I think this is okay. The next thing, more contents. So I'm bringing this down. I'm pasting it here. And also I'm going to reduce the size of this. I'm going to make it, we can still use 24, and just drag this way. And this time around, I also want to reduce it, and we'll have something like this. So I'm going to delete this content here, and I think this is okay. So the margin, I'll check again using my option or alternate, depending, and making it 24. And then you need a button that will say, okay, after you know what we're doing, what next? You want to contact us, so go ahead and say contact us. Pretty nice. So I'm going to select the select these two first and use the group option, which is Control-Command-G or alternate Control-G. So, and make it align to the left. Okay, sorry, we're going to bring it back this way. So if you notice, we have not used the grid line. So let me turn on the grid line and make sure that all of this is aligned to this. So I'm going to drag this. Pretty nice. It's aligned. And one tip is make sure you zoom in very well and make sure you align it properly. So I'm going to do this as well. Awesome. So I'm going to repeat this here. You can notice that this is not also properly aligned. So that's why we need the grid system. So I'm going to do that as well for the contact. Okay, nice. So once you're done aligning, you can turn off the grid line as fast as you can. So I've turned it off, and what next? I think this needs to be aligned properly. So I'm going to take it up a little bit, and let's say we're using 32 for this. 32, awesome. So I'm going to select the both of them and then kind of group it, or add the frame selection to it. Then I'm rename this to be like the about section. Awesome. Nice. So the next thing I want to create is the services section. So the services section is going to have the different services and a kind of little description about the services. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a box and give that box width of 48. So this is going to be an icon for each of the services. So the color for this, I'm going to pick this color as what I'm going to be using. Then we should have the service which they are rendering, and so I'm going to take this way. And the first service, the first services is that they have talented creators. So I'm going to make this and I'll make it auto width. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this as well. So a little description about it. So Ctrl copy and Ctrl V, that's what I'm doing there. And the size of that, I'm going to just make it 18. This is 18, make it 18. And I'm going to reduce this. And I can use my plugin again to just refill that, my Lauren, and just make it auto width, auto. So I have that. So I'm going to align this properly. So by selecting the both of them, I can use my frame selection on it. And I'm going to, or better still, you use auto layouts. So just use your Shift A and you have your auto layout. Then you check the alignment and align it properly. Then the spacing between them, I want it to be 24. So I'm going to select this both and make sure they're aligned at the top. So align top. And I'm going to check the spacing within both of them. I'm going to make the spacing to be 24 as well. So I'm going to select the both of them. And then what I'm going to do is to then group it. So what I will do is I'll use Option Command G to group it. And I'm going to rename this to service container, whatever you want to rename it to. So I'm going to duplicate this now and I have another service. So I'll select the both of them, add an auto layout. Then I want the spacing between both of them to be 32. 32 small. So let's make it 40. So I'm going to make it 40. So what next I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this and make sure this is center aligned by just clicking on the align horizontal, align vertical center. So make sure it's center aligned. Then I'm going to drag this way and then I'll duplicate this way as well. And if you check the spacing within there is 40, which is the 8 dpt row. So I'm going to turn on the grid line and make sure this is aligned to the grid line. So I'm going to select this and this and make sure they are aligned to the grid line. Awesome. This is really nice. So the next thing I'm going to do is to turn off the grid line, and we have some progress. So the next thing I'm going to do is to do the gallery section. So the gallery section, pretty nice and simple. So I'm going to pick this and paste it and then copy it down here. Remember the spacing at the top, we use 80. Okay, nice. So what this should be, I'm going to say our gallery. Or galleries, I don't know which one is correct, galleries or gallery. And I'm going to make the size same size. Then what I'll do is I need more description, so I'm going to copy that text and paste it here. Sorry about that. So paste it here, and I'm going to make the size 24 and make it center aligned. So I'm going to take this here and select the both of them, add auto layout to it, helps me with my alignment, make it centered aligned, and the spacing between them, I'm going to make the spacing 16. Awesome. So I'm going to drag this down a little bit. I'm going to drag it down, and I'm going to create some images which I plan to use for it. So the first image is going to something like this, and I'm going to make the width let's say 759, and I'll make the height to be like say 424. Okay, this is nice. So what I can do next is I'll create another image. So you need to be more creative when doing your designs. So I don't just naturally want to place a lot of images anyhow everywhere. So I just try to be more creative with my images. So this time around, I'm going to make this very one. The width is going to be, let's say, 387, and the height is going to be 200. So I'm going to take this and make sure, and what I'm doing now is to turn on the grid line and make sure it's aligned to my grid line. Perfect. And make sure this starts from the grid line. Perfect. There's a duplicate somewhere. I think I need to delete the duplicate. Yeah. So, and this I can make it start here as well, and make sure this starts here as well. Awesome. So what I'm going to do next is turn off the grid line, zoom in, and the next thing I'm going to do is check the spacing at the top. So I want the spacing at the top to be, like, say 64. 64 is nice, so make it 64. So I'm going to duplicate this and just break it down a little bit here. Awesome. This is how I want this gallery image to be. So I'm going to select this first section and right click and say make it a frame selection. Awesome. So I click on the landing page and frame and increase it. So I'm going to duplicate this and bring it down a little bit. Sorry about that. I'm going to make the spacing to be 32. I think this spacing is bigger, so let me check the spacing here. 30. So we're just going to make it 30, but it's 32 is nice. Let's just use 32. So I'm going to swap this by using my Shift H, swap it to the other place. So my gallery section is okay, it's completed. So guys, let's create the content section. So what I'm going to do for the content section is I'm going to create another field for the content. So I'm going to select an ellipse and do something like this. So what should be the width? I'm going to make this, the width should be 888. And let me increase this. Awesome. So let's make the width 1004. And this is okay. So I can copy this and paste it here, drag it and paste it here somewhere here. So I'm going to increase this to align, and I'm going to place an image here. That's what it means. I want to place an image. These are for images, so I know what I'm actually designing. These are also for images. So the next thing I'm going to do is add some form controls immediately to this. So the form controls I'm going to add is I'm going to select, first of all, let's add the title. So I'm going to pick this, and the title should say drop an image. So I'm going to, sorry about that, paste this here. Sorry, Control Z. Make sure you select the frame where you want to paste. Pasting it on the main frame. So I'm taking this down. Having some troubles with my system, sorry about that. So taking this here, and I'm sending this to the front, so you can use your command bracket right, sorry, and I'll make this let's say you want to drop us a message, and I'm going to change the font size. I think I'm going to use a font size of 32 for this, and next thing I'm going to do is to duplicate this, and once I duplicate this, I'm going to call this should be the first, and this should be 24. This should be 24. So, and we have a control for the box. So the height, usually text box, I use height of 50. So we're going to give it a fill color so it looks different from. So I'm going to select this fill color, and that's okay. So I'm selecting this board and using auto layout on it. I'm making a distance margin of, let's say, 16, and I'm going to align it here. So I'm going to duplicate this as well, and the margin should be 24. 24, nice. So the next contact should be contact us, contact number, get the number, and I'm going to duplicate this again, and then next contact should be message. Then I'm going to increase the height of this a little bit, and I think I'm okay with that. Then I'm going to pick one of the buttons here, and make sure I paste it here, and drag it down here a little bit. Then the content of this should be like send a message. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the footer, and that should be the last thing we're going to do in this design. So I'm going to select this. The wireframe has taken us a lot of time, so the next video I'm going to create the UI, and after you watch this, make sure you watch the next video to learn how to create the UI. So in the UI, I'm going to talk more about how to use the colors, which you have talked about, and the typographies and all that stuff which we're going to be doing in the UI. So I'm going to like create a kind of a box here, and I'm going to pick one of these texts and just lift it up and paste the text here. So actually paste it at the top. I'm going to take this down here, and I'll say at copyright photo 2020, I don't know what the name is, at 2021, and I'll set it at the middle by using my align middle. I think this is okay. So guys, I'm going to select the boat and group them and check the spacing at the top. I'm going to make it 80 as well. Then I'm going to bring this up a little bit. So guys, I think we are done with the wireframes. How did you see this? Did you really like the video? If you really like it, let me know in the comment section. So if you're working in an organization where there's a UI design, you need to create the wireframes. So this is the wireframe, how the design is going to look. So immediately after this, we're going to create the UI design. So make sure you watch the next video. And in the next video, I'm going to quickly show you guys how to turn this, add the images, and how to get the proper images, how to use the colors we've selected, and the typographies that are involved in it, how to get our icons, where to get the best icons, and the rest of that. So guys, make sure you watch the next video. I think the video will be placed either here or here. Just check it out and make sure you watch the video. See you guys in the next video. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's the only way YouTube will know that this video is a great video. Thank you guys, and bye for now.